Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors and actresses have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting by actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, direct from Hollywood, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi everybody, I'm Ron Brewington and welcome to The Actor's Choice, brought to you by Photography as an Art. Harvey Brandman, master photographer, located at 1307 North San Fernando Boulevard in Burbank, California. And attorney Ron Irwin's 5150, the book. It's the story of a young Irwin serving 13 months in South Vietnam as a Marine. And author Larry Buford's book To the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule, now available in paperback for only $17.95. And our newest sponsor, State Farm agent Carla Green, who says, and like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. My guest today is a member of the Cultural Legacy Project, LA Inner City Cultural Center, C. Bernard Jackson Memorial Library. Busy man. He's been here several times before to update our viewers about the continuing progress that we've got at the event that he's at. So please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome an old friend, Ernest Dillihay. Ernest, hey. Welcome. Well, good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to be seen, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You come here so much, you might as well say I work here. So
Yeah.
But you bring good information when you come.
Yeah, I try. You know, if something's in the gray matter, I can give it up.
Okay. I just want to let folks know that you've got some good stuff as far as, okay, I'm saying 5 things at one time. Let me stop and back up and say one thing.
Sure.
What you got to tell us?
Well, you mentioned the Cultural Legacy Project,
yes,
and this has been in development for several years. Mm-hmm. I like to deal with origins, like where things begin, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But being a board member of the Los Angeles Inner City Cultural Center, mm-hmm. and also, kind of like an alumni, began my, I would say I began my career working at the Inner City Cultural Center.
That's right, you did. And what did you do there? What was your job?
Well, actually, the first time I went there, again, origins again. This, I'm at UCLA, came out with a group of like 20 veterans. We kind of landed on the campus.
U.S. Marine Corps. Thank you so much for your service.
No, thank you too, man. We had a bunch of Navy guys and Army guys.
Had a bunch of Marines,
all that kind of stuff like that. So, we're out on the campus here and, trying, figuring out something to do. So to shorten this long story, I bumped into, I had made friends with some people, and they were doing cultural history weeks. Okay. And one of the people that I bumped into was the late Dr. Beverly Robinson.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, okay, and we got to be friends. I said, well, Beverly, what's going on? I mean, where can I, touch ground other than, coming to campus, living in my apartment, coming to campus. She said, well, have you heard of the Inner City Cultural Center? I said, no, I've never heard of the Inner City Cultural Center. So she said where it was. So I went there, and I met Jack, and I took his writing class. This was like 1972. I'm dating myself, but that's history, Yes. We do move on.
Yes.
So that began my relationship, and then, later on, then Jack said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, he said, well, you like the house manage. I said, well, what is that? Even though I'm just like getting into theater, actually coming into a program was called the Ethnic Arts Program, which today is called the Study of World Arts and Cultures at UCLA. Now, I say all this to say that these connections are very interesting in terms of building cultural legacy. That's why the project, I have to go there to bring this kind of forward. And I might meander a little bit, but I think it's just very important. Mm-hmm. So I go there and I become a house manager, and then I become more involved, and I like what they're doing. And I find out they're the first multicultural, racial, ethnic, performing and visual arts institute in the nation.
Yes.
And their core principle was any actor, mm-hmm. regardless of ethnicity, gender, race, culture, could play any role. Mm-hmm. That's diversity and inclusion.
Yes, it is.
This is conceived in 1965, because also what I found out later on, going through life and talking to people, is that Jack was a rehearsal pianist at UCLA's dance department, where he met Dr. Allegra Schneider Fuller, who was the daughter of Buckminster Fuller. Mm-hmm. And Jack was very much interested in dance. He also met George Takei. So in 1959, 60, 61, Jack, because he had this I don't know, concept or heartfelt feeling that he had wanted to do something to, develop cross communication amongst, minorities. He also hooked up with a doctor named Dr. J. Alfred Cannon, who was instrumental in mental health facilities and building those in L.A. So anyway, all this got together. Jack did a play, won an award, which George Takei was in. When Jack opened his center, and see now, I'm shortening this as much as I can, but trying to get information in.
Right.
The night the Watts went up in flames, George and Jack were together.
We have a video and you can actually see where the two of them are talking to each other.
Okay.
Tony, can you find that video, the first video where they're talking about the reaction to the actual rebellion?
Okay.
That's the actual studio right there. But
that's the entrance to the Inner City Cultural Center, the Masonic Temple that was on 1308, Vermont Avenue. That was the most
it's
famous location, so to speak.
It's number 11. Yeah.
But go ahead.
We're going on a sequence a little bit. 11.
It's the Google Drive, remember?
Oh, okay. All right. But we'll come back to that later.
Sure.
Because it actually showed where George was really him and Bernard, they got together and they saw this thing. And from what I saw and from the video, George was upset. Both of them were upset.
Well, both of them were upset.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that was the evening as part of our gala.
Right.
We established the Diversity and Inclusion Awards because we felt we had claimed that ground as the first, in the nation actually to deal with issues of diversity and inclusion. I call it, and not that I call it, I mean, it's just a fact, is that the original genesis in my mind in terms of access and diversity and inclusion in the arts, culture, entertainment, stage, screen, and television industry was Inner City Culture. And that's the original genesis. So we're claiming that as that's the OG of diversity and inclusion is the Inner City Culture Center.
Gotcha.
So you take all this legacy, this 50 years, 53 years of doing this, all the people that were involved. So the Cultural Legacy Project is actually to design and build. We have plans to design in the building of a cultural center library named after the organization and Jack, in honor of Jack, because of the space that he created that allowed people to come into this particular marketplace, to these venues, to gain this access. So I think that's a lot of history.
It is. And the term "out of the ashes," is that where it came from?
Well, what we did, Dr. Sandy Sheffy and I. This was 19, well, this is interesting. We decided that since there had been no collected history of inner city at the time, we sat down and talked with Jack and said we'd like to do, a book. So what we came up with was a photographic production history of the productions from inner city from 1967 to 1992. Now, this is like 25 years, because the first inaugural season of Inner City, even though it was conceived in 65, incorporated in 66, the first season of shows was 1967. They also established the Langston Hughes Memorial Library. Okay, so there's a connection between the first season and the library. So we did this production book, and we entitled it because, in the tape, you say when then Jack saw, Watts burning, and then the common thing is that it was given birth because of Watts burning. So out of the ashes came the Inner City Culture Center.
Gotcha.
So we entitled our book "Out of the Ashes," which will also be the title of a documentary film that we're working on. You see, to capture all of this history and to talk to all of the people. So that's the Out of the Ashes. That's where that basically comes from.
Now,
and let me just say this: the night that we were working on finalizing the book to go to publication, we were sitting in Sandy's home, because we're working out of our home, and we turned on the TV and we looked, and the city was burning in 1992. Goodness. I mean, I was like, this is just too nuts. I mean, so Out of the Ashes was just like perfect.
Wow. Now, the location of Inner City itself, the studio, where was that at?
The first one was on Washington and Vermont Boulevard in Los Angeles. It was I think it was a Lowe's theater, you know, one of those really ornate, you know, palaces, and then it was converted. They had gotten monies. Gregory Peck, the late Gregory Peck, who was on the national board for the National Endowment for the Arts, got in the city to be a third leg of a national program called the Educational Theater Laboratory Project. So they began busing about 35,000 students annually for 3 years to that. And they dealt with the classics. They also dealt with new plays. The first play to open that first season was Tartuffe, that starred Louis Gossett Jr., Bonnie Bedelia, guys. Anyway, a number of actors, man. Roscoe Lee Brown.
It's Monday.
You know, Roscoe Lee Brown and Robert Ito. Great, you know, again, diverse, you know. So, I mean, it was amazing. I've met so many people over the years that were students then that attended those shows, and they were just blown away by the representation of all of the cultures in classic plays. Okay, of course, Tartuffe was one of those, you know, one of the canons. Then you had new plays like Slow Dance on the Killing Ground that brought Glenn Turman to Los Angeles.
You're dropping some famous names in here, Phil.
Oh, there's a bunch. I mean, aside from George Takei teaching at Inner City Cultural Center, at the same time he was on Star Trek, which is kind of like the first multicultural, diverse, you know, inclusive show on TV.
Yes.
These things happened. Bea Richards became like the mother of Inner City, like, you know, like Aretha's the queen, Bea was the queen, you know, the mother of Inner City Cultural Center. That history goes back to Frank Silvera. Sidney Poitier came in, Hal DeWitt. I mean, people, like there were a lot of people who were coming, when they needed to land, in a sense, to have an entry point into Los Angeles in terms of bringing their art or having a place. Inner City was that place. When Arthur Mitchell first started Dance Theater of Harlem, Inner City landed.
Yes.
I mean, he landed on Inner City. You know, he might have got a book, but he bought him out. Alvin Ailey, because Jack was so much into dance. I mean, some of these people started in Los Angeles, but had to go to New York.
Right.
You know, but see, since Jack has so many connections with his UCLA connections with the music and so on and so forth, and he built this. And I tell people, Jack was doing.
Yes.
There was no roadmap for what he was doing.
Gotcha.
This was real time.
Yeah.
You know, there was no like, okay, the plan, you know, I mean, it was a plan of sort, but he went, you know, with his heart, he went with a passion. And I always tell people now, when we're building our cultural legacy project, Jack didn't know that he was building legacy. But you look at 52 years later, and you look at the people who came through there, and now people are trying to, you know, we're trying to reestablish so that we have a sense of place, a sense of home. Also to capture and collect, because a lot of people, you know, we don't stay here forever.
No.
Okay. Now you may be enshrined in television and film, but see, my point is having loved libraries as a young man. Spent a lot of time reading books, you know, looking at the pictures in National Geographic and saying, gee, I can imagine going there, and then some of those things becoming a reality. A cultural center that is also a library that exhibits and collects and presents and studies and takes the information and tours. And that's what Jack had conceived by establishing the Langston Hughes Memorial Library in the center, so that they can collect. But then he collect the works of so-called minority artists at the time, because there was limited access.
Yes.
So it was like, develop the work. You know, it is by and about you. You have to tell your story, and there's still so many stories to be told. I mean, of course, we're in a town that, you know, that people tell stories all the time.
Oh, yes, they do.
Some of them are big, you know, like we used to say, you're telling a story. But I mean, this is fiction.
Folks, if you want to hear a storyteller, right here. I've been on this guy a long time. He can tell you some stories. He's quiet now, but when he gets going.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, look, this is like, you know, like when you were a child, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And you sat at your, you know, you could be in the room with your aunties and your uncles, and you could hear some stories.
Oh, yes.
And that's some wonderful stuff.
Yes.
But see, now, you know, and you know, as we move on, you know, we forget, and you know, the photographs get tossed into the drawer.
Yes.
But see, these are very valuable cultural assets.
Yes.
And if they should not disappear. See, we have a motto for this legacy project, since it is a library, right? And it's dedicated to artists.
Okay.
The foundation of the library will be all of Jack's collected works.
Okay.
Any of the works that the alumni, I have a drawer full of stuff that I would donate to
Like
the
scripts and things like that?
Scripts,
Films?
photographs,
Okay.
video, audio, reviews, oral history interviews, where we did that at one of our annual celebrations. We collected, and we continue to collect these oral history interviews. And there are people around the country that we need to
talk to
to bring into this. So we say that, now see, as a child going to a library, I was fascinated by certain characters in history. Okay, now, for example, if my grandchildren, when they see somebody that I'm in a photograph with, oh, I didn't know you know so-and-so. And well, they got a good job and, we hang out because we know each other. But see, they got a good, big job because everybody, 50 million people see them, and anyway, this gets to be funny with you too. But, well, gee, Granddad, can you get an autograph? Can you take me by their house? Things like that. I'm saying, just calm down. But, but it's one of those things where this collection, these valuable assets need to be in a place.
Yes.
Because, see, we forget. But, see, this should also be an inspiration for a young child going through the library to see one of their icons and see exactly where they came from. In other words, we say this is a place where you not only check art out,
right,
you can check art in. Now, what I mean by saying that is that, our membership would be, in this particular Cultural Center library, when you take and put a membership card, you're actually opening up like an account for yourself to put your material, your first scribblings, your first drawings, whatever, right? So you can check your art in, but now you can go to the book and you see the book on Ron Brewington, right? Ron Brewington, you should check your art in.
Yes.
So somebody can check your art out.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So, and this is building legacy so that when they see you 50 years from now and they see you on the big screen or see you on TV, they can say, oh, that's fascinating. Where can I go? You go to Los Angeles to see Bernard Jackson, the library, and you check it in. Check it out, check it in, check it, check in, check out. So this is building a legacy so that it's preserved. And that's what Jack's vision was for the Inner City Cultural Center at that time. And like I said, he did it in real time. We have much more information today, plus the technologies here.
Yes.
We have gotten our degrees, we have our life experiences. There was no such thing on the planet at the time. I don't think people grasp this. When people, it's like Columbus setting sail. Even though he went the wrong way, you understand? He still set sail, okay? So he had a destination, but he landed someplace. So he said, all right, what the heck, I'll kind of stop out here. Now, I make a joke about that. There's some history even attached to that, but it's recorded.
Right.
You understand? Even the mythology of the thing. You get into mythology, you get into legend, you get into storytelling, right? Sometimes you want to have enough information and the facts to tell the story the right way.
Exactly.
People take what they call dramatic license in storytelling, to emphasize a point. Maybe somebody's not here, but we want to, But anyway, I could, I obviously go on about that forever, but I guess you get the point. Did I make a point?
Oh, very much so.
Okay.
Ernest,
because we can ramble. I don't want to.
You do well. You did mention Arthur Mitchell, and I just want to take a moment to, as everyone knows, he passed away last week.
We were just mentioning that.
And I'd like to dedicate today's show in his memory.
Please. That was one of the first shows part of my, because I was at USLA doing things, I was even bringing Jack shows on the campus at the time. And because I was connected, I got free tickets when Arthur Mitchell, in the Dance Theater Harlem came in. I was backstage, and I even had to take some photographs that I still have. And it was one of the most amazing experiences in terms of dance. That I've seen it, and then Jack brought other, like I said, Alvin Alley would do the master classes, George Faison, Jaime Rogers. There were so many people's names they don't even know now.
Right.
But see, this is a leggy. Fayard Nicholas, great tap dancer, was in the studio. Yes. Gregory Hines used to just drop by and just, look, there's just so many, and so, in a place. Yes. And this was a place, look, this wasn't where you had to, we're in a secure building. We checked in. I checked in at the front. They had a security guard. They give you a little pass. You walked in off the street in this city.
Wow.
You could be, most people say, okay, you sign in, you want to use the rehearsal room. People walk in, and these are people that might be, looking for a home actually.
Yeah.
Like carrying their bags.
Yeah.
But some of them were creative, and if they saw that nobody was in the dance studio and the rehearsal piano was in there, they would go into the studio and start playing.
Wow.
And Jack, I say, Jack, there's somebody. Yes. Jack would just nod and say,
No problem.
Now, some of those people got so frequent there, they began to volunteer and work there.
Okay.
Some of them slept there.
Okay. Don't name no names.
No, I'm not. We have to say, what is it? We have to. What does that thing about protecting? We say we have to change the names to protect the guilty because nobody was innocent at the time. But I mean, those. I mean, that place was a hub. You could be anywhere in the world, get off a plane, go to inner city, and that's what people would do. Wow. They would go to inner city and they would come in and say, ask you a question. Have you seen so and so?
Right.
No, but if you stay, usually, if so and so was around, we would say no, but usually comes in about this time. Mm-hmm. Or they would come with news. It's almost like the communities are so tight, you would get the news of, what's happening, here and there because people, the communities in theater, dance, music, whatever, kind of small community.
We've got a video.
Sure.
Tony, can you go back to that original one again? There's no sound on it, so if you can just walk through it with us and tell us what we're actually looking at.
All right. I don't need my glasses for this.
No.
Well, see, this is the Inner City Cultural Center, 1308 South New Hampshire. This is the second location of the building. Now, on that building right there at that time, there was a mural that was done. I think Robert Delgado was the artist, and I think we were doing a CETA program at that time. Now, some of it was whited out for some reason. I think it was because of our creed. That was the box office. This is an old Masonic temple, had 3 floors in it. So it's very, in a sense, ornate. I mean, the whole symbolism and things, it was very nice. So this is the front entry. Going up to, and that was one of the shows at the time. I think that was the building fund. Mm-hmm. Put your money in the envelope like they do at church so we can help refurbish the building. This is, what does that say? Silence. Okay. This, to that right was the Loge Theater. Mm-hmm. Oh, Checkmates with Denzel Washington, Paul Winfield, I think Retta Green, maybe Gloria Force, I'm not sure, I can't remember. There was another theater to the right that was the larger theater, which we were supposed to be 99 seats all the way around, right? But every theater wasn't 99 seats. Okay. But there were 4 theaters in this building throughout the 3 floors. Wow. The 2 on the second floor, 1 down at the main floor, and then the Stormy Weather Cafe, which was kind of like a cabaret style, where we held readers' theaters and so on and so forth. It was interesting, one of the plays that Jack did originally, that George Takei was supposed to be in, but he didn't get to do it until later on in New York. He did it in L.A., but when he got to New York, Robert Guillaume was in the play, and it was a musical. And see, for a long time, I didn't know that Robert was a singer until he did The Phantom. Yeah. But Robert Guillaume also, the late Robert Guillaume, with blessing, yes. When Jack was doing a kind of like a composer's competition. Mm-hmm. Robert Guillaume was the sponsor of that competition for young singers. So there's a lot of connections in there.
That was that video. I was able to. I found it just searching through my
No,
records.
that's great. I mean, are you going to donate to that to the
Of course.
Yeah,
of
okay.
course.
Just checking.
I happen to know some of the people on the board of directors.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah.
That looks like a great place.
Oh, it was buzzing. I mean, that 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning open. It might stay open until 2, 3 a.m.
Wow.
I mean, classes would be over.
Mm-hmm.
But then the collaboration thing, with people, they want to get together, they want to talk about this, they want to write a show. I mean, this is one of those places, where failure, there was no such thing. What do they say? Nothing beats failure but a try. This is where people tried because there was limited access, again, in the industry at the time.
Right.
A trickle, it was less than a trickle. And the big drive at the time was to get actors, because it was, this kind of a stigma against these stereotypical roles. Mm-hmm. And so Jack, and then a lot of these folks were actually trained at major universities. When you train at a university, I mean, the part is not that, the whole idea is for the instrument and you're dealing with that and you can, do all the work that's necessary to play the role. But, but most of the times, the roles that people wanted you to play were, less than decent roles. Yes. Not that the people don't exist, but all the roles you were regulated to, these stereotypical roles. I mean, what about, the businessman, so to speak, as opposed to, again, the old adage, the criminal element or something like that, or the maid, as they would say, can I do something else? Right. And anybody could do the role. Then it got to be the technicians who needed to get, because entry was difficult into the unions, kind of thing. So that's why he had the creative, the administrative, and the technical training part of that.
Okay.
You know, entry level to train people, give them skills to enter into the marketplace, so to speak. So.
As an alumni yourself,
Yeah.
and you know I always bug you about this, and that is there a way we can reach out and grab some of those alumni that are still living and put them together, say in a reunion or something like that?
Well, we've been, and actually November the 4th, which is Sunday, is Jack's birthday, so we do an event every year on the 4th. For the last 3 years, we've been doing milestones, 50-year anniversary milestones.
I love the way you said we. You mean to say you, my brother, you did a lot of all the thinking, the planning. You just had us all walking around. Thank you very much.
No, you know, it's a passion of mine because
yes.
I would hate to see, no, I wouldn't hate, I would dislike, you know, that we do not do this not only for ourselves and the people who are still present. You know, it's like Arthur Mitchell passing.
Yes.
He was on the list to be interviewed. Again, you know, it's getting the resources, you know, to do that. But so we've done the 350th anniversary milestones. The last one being last year. Again, it was recognizing the 50th anniversary of the launch of the first season, and the fact that the Langston Hughes Memorial Library, Langston Hughes was one of Jack's favorite writers, was also established. Then it was interesting, in the first year we gave one of the Koshki-Dotson Awards to Cecilia Peck on behalf of her father,
yes.
posthumously Gregory Peck. And she told an interesting story of how her mother, who was French, were very much interested, both she and her husband, Gregory, Mr. Peck, were interested in supporting the Culture Center. So she got together this French designer and had I think this place was called the Factory, not the Spaghetti Factory, but the Factory or something like that. So they had this big fashion show, and she has celebrities wear the French designers' fashions and raise money for the for the Langston Hughes Memorial Library. It was a big hit. I mean, Pierre Salinger, Kirk Douglas, one of the Kennedys, the Mamas and the Papas, and all these kind of people wore these it was a big hit.
Yes.
Okay, so this year, so we try to recognize that every year. So this year we're doing, and we give, we present our Diversity and Inclusion Awards to those people who represent the core values or reflect the core values that Jack espoused. So we're doing a celebration, not a 50th anniversary, but a birthday party, so to speak, on November the 4th. And we've calling through the list of all the people that we know. Of course, we can't get everybody, but we're inviting everybody. And it's also open to the general public. We will, have a small entry fee because we are trying to collect and build our fund for the library. And, people can bring artifacts again that we can put in our archive, or they can bring them and we can scan them, and we just want to identify where they are so that we can, build our momentum so that when we go to people, they'll know what we're all about. And it's a good. It's also a good local economic development project as well, because arts are an anchor to the development of any community. Just like there's a lot of building going out here on Sunset.
Oh, we got Johnny Grant. If he would ever see Hollywood Boulevard,
my goodness.
It's amazing.
No, he would. I mean, I won't say what the saying would be when people have passed and then they would turn over. Kind of like.
As for those who don't know, Johnny Grant was the former mayor of Hollywood.
Right,
He's well known in this town. Well known.
Did a couple of things with him over the years too when I was working with the Cultural Affairs Department in Hollywood.
We miss Johnny.
Yeah,
good man.
Great guy.
Yeah. Okay, we got to take a short break. We got to pay some bills.
That again.
And when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, more words from Ernest Dillihay, member Cultural Legacy Project. The studio of Harvey Brandman Photography as an Art is proud to offer you a $100 discount off any photo package valued at $300 or more. Now, Harvey's been in the business for nearly a quarter of a century, and he certainly knows how to take care of his customers. So please give him a call today at 818-954-9294. That's 818-954-9294. You'll be glad you did. And by the way, please tell Harvey that you heard about his offer right here on The Actor's Choice. Okay? 5150 the book. It's the latest release from author and attorney Ron Irwin. Now, here's a young Marine. Irwin spent 13 months in Chu Lai, Republic of Vietnam. His experience where nearly 3 million Americans. Were you in Vietnam, sir?
Didn't make that. Got my bags packed twice to go. And Chu Lai, when you mentioned Chu Lai, gave me a chill because that's where I was supposed to be.
Okay. 3 million Americans went to war, whereas he put it, he called it 5150, the book. It's currently available in paperback at lulu.com. That's lulu.com. And Irwin says he'll give 20% of net book sales split evenly between the veterans of foreign wars and the Vietnam veterans of America. Book to the Future, Time Travel, Message in a Capsule is a new book by author Larry Buford. Now, it's a historical and faith-based account of how what we do and follow today will affect us tomorrow. The author also calls it an adventure for those who want to travel back through time. The book is now available in paperback for only $17.95 from Amazon, so please get yourself a copy today. And now, a word from our good friend, State Farm agent Carla Green.
Let me ask you something. What do you see when you look at your home and your car? Do you see a bundle? A combo deal? That's how other insurance companies see them, but a State Farm agent sees so much more. Because the State Farm agent sees your home and your car as more than just four walls and four wheels. They see the things you've worked really hard for. So why not give them the protection they deserve? Let me help you with that. Give me a call. State Farm agent Carla Green, 213-239-9675. I look forward to speaking with you.
Thanks, Carl. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. For more information, 213-239-9675. That's 213-239-9675. The Black Hollywood Education and Resource Center, or BHERC as they call it, is presenting their 21st annual Real Black Men Film Festival on Saturday, October 13th at the Raleigh Studios, 5300 Melrose Avenue, here in Los Angeles, 90038. The festival is for minority filmmakers to show their movies to audiences and to get that necessary feedback needed to make them better filmmakers. Q&As start. The event starts at 7 p.m. and they'll have some Q&As there through 9:30, and then a reception until 11 p.m. Cost is only $25. For more information, call 310-284-3170. That's 310-284-3170. And finally, if you have a product or a service of upcoming events and you'd like to see them advertised on this program, please give us a call at 323-533-1036. That's 323-533-1036. And I can tell you our prices are very affordable. Thank you. It's the Actor's Choice. I'm your host, Ron Brewington. My guest today is Ernest Dillihay, member, Cultural Legacy Project. My brother, where do we left off at? Okay, when we try. Okay, go ahead.
You want me?
Go ahead.
Because I had to do this
Go
before.
ahead.
I was just thinking when you were talking and you were mentioning icons
Yes.
and current events, because you were mentioning the film festival there,
Yes.
and I was just thinking about when August Wilson came to the Inner City Culture Center, and director Claude Purdy brought him, and they had a play reading of one of August's plays, because we had to read his theater, and Gene Boland was the guy who was running the Reader's Theater, and Gene was one of the first black writers, staff writers in television,
Right.
working on the show Julia at the time.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Takes you back.
Yeah, so I mean, again, this is the legacy piece, and I wanted to mention August because 20 years ago, they did August, Dr. Victor Walker the second, and Dr. Cook, Richard Cook, I believe his name was. They did a project. They created an organization called the African Grove Institute for the Arts, and they had a retreat, and they brought 45 of the leading black theater practitioners across the nation at a place called On Golden Pond at Dartmouth, film of the same title, right? And then they called together people from across the nation to what they call the National Black Theater Summit. And they're having a 20th anniversary reunion, so to speak, or redo, or reprise or whatever of that, and bringing people together again, because over 20 years a lot has happened. And it was interesting. I was reading one of the magazines I have in my collection was, called the Black World, and on the Black World, the cover of it, they have a photograph of Ron Milner, the late playwright. That when you saw that poster of Checkmates,
Yes.
Ron Milner wrote that play, and that was some of what. And in that particular magazine, they had Jack had a multicultural, racial theater, performing visual arts institution. But at the time, Black World, who was interviewing people in the Black World, noted that even though Jack is not considered a black theater, which he was not, he was very pointed about what he wanted to do. He was still the largest presenter and producer of black theater in the country at the time, and especially in Los Angeles, where there weren't any opportunities to do main stage or even smaller theaters. Other than the Ebony Showcase, which didn't do what Jack did, but Ebony Showcase was a black theater. Of course, Nick had established that so that actors in that period of time could do, not only larger works, but they could stretch and they could, do their craft.
You said Nick. Who are you talking about?
Nick Stewart. The Ebony Showcase, Nick and Edna Stewart. Nick was, again, this is part of the legacy and the history of not only TV, but, the life of people in Los Angeles that are still in boxes, that then they traveled and their energies into the marketplace here. But that show was Amos and Andy, and Nick Stewart played that character Lightning on that particular show, but he was always interested in, and he did, and he established the Ebony Showcase Theater. And here's another interesting piece. Before it was the Ebony Showcase Theater, I think it wasn't a Boulevard Theater. I'll forget the name, but it's in some of the writings that we've done. But that theater that Nick, and it was a theater, it was a movie theater prior to that, right? Jack did his first play, Fly Blackbird, in that same theater that Nick later on purchased, and that play, Fly Blackbird, was the show that George Takei was in addition to a guy named Jack Crowder, who later changed his name to Thalamus Rasulala.
Yes.
Okay. A bunch of folk. Nick and then Mickey Grant was, and then it traveled to New York and that kind of, but see, this is that.
Yes.
Again, if it's like, if you don't tell the story, if you don't collect the story, you don't tell the story, then the story will not be told.
Never be told.
And Los Angeles has a history that is so buried. I mean, I've spent 20 years performing arts director for the Cultural Affairs Department, right? And I would say an additional 30 years being in Los Angeles, being an independent producer. And I've been to theaters all throughout Los Angeles. And people really don't know even the history of the local theater scene, not let alone inner city. I mean, inner city is just unique, but I can tell you that any theater that's more than 20 years old, small or large, has a history and they have stories that they can tell. If you, kind of what they say, take that 50,000 foot view and then you zero in and you could, look, I mean, Hollywood never runs out of stories to tell.
Oh, no. No, that's Hollywood. That's what we're all about.
Right. And people are trying to tell these stories,
Yes.
but all I'm saying, and we don't say we corner the market, but it's very unique at this time, given, the reports on diversity and inclusion. And I'm just saying, okay, you guys are kind of late to the game in one respect. You're reporting now, maybe you're patting yourself on the back kind of thing, not you personally, but, just conceptually. But I'm saying inner city's been in the fight at the beginning. Just to kind of nudge people to open their eyes to like, hey, over here. Now, there's been some growth in that. I mean, the shows that you see now, it was a desert in terms of minorities, so-called. I always say so-called because that's like, I don't like the term. But, cultural, ethnic, or racial beings, performing, directing, producing, building, lighting, directing, whatever industry calls for. Because they have skills and they're lending something. So everybody knows, sounds like one of those songs, everybody knows. Or they should know, that to include, why keep people out? I mean, even on if you deal with economics or the bottom line, your audience has expanded. And, in the generations of people coming up now, they don't have the same issues that a lot of us have, maybe still carry to this point. The world is changing, change with the world. Right. Resistance is futile, as somebody said.
How much in money do you need to build this library? How much? Estimate.
Now, what is that saying? You know, you might have champagne taste on a beer budget.
Yep.
We have champagne taste, so that's the kind of budget we need.
Okay.
And we're talking, what is that? That stuff that James Bond drinks in the year.
Yes.
You know, it's kind of things like that. We want to be in that level. You understand? So you know, the beer we can deal with on Sunday football games, but the champagne we want to be in that level. Okay. So I mean, look, it depends on the footprint, right? So, for example, I mean, we could put a library in a room like Mamie Clayton had a library in her garage.
Yes.
Or collected, down there at the Culver City, place. In a sense, we can go like that, but we're talking new. Of course, we're in the 20th century. We're talking digital platform.
Right.
You're talking holograms.
Right.
Everything VR, everything that new technology can demand. I mean, plus hard copy. We don't want everything to be digital. People to touch paper, we want people to read. It's not like look at a video kind of thing, but we want to make it accessible too. So I have and I shared it with some people that are knowledgeable. Okay. And I'll just give you this. I'm kind of bouncing around. I could share you the piece that was knowledgeable. Let me go back to a point. We had a panel on the Cultural Legacy Project, in which we had some very substantial people, technologists, people that operate libraries at major universities. And so the moderator said, well, we were floating the idea of $30 million. Okay. And so one of the participants, who happened to be an architect who vision is like that, he says, well, if you're talking cultural center and library, you're talking really expansive.
Yeah.
So why would it be 30 million? Why wouldn't it be 300?
Right.
Now, George Lucas, who has billions of dollars, is doing a what they call a museum that's based on narrative history, which are collected kind of things. But in his project, I believe, is 450
Somewhere
million.
in there. It's
Okay.
in there.
Now we can go from 10, 15 comfortably, right? But that's just building, right? To 300. A couple of acres, campus style, anchor this in a community, in the urban cultural core, because Jack was always in the urban cultural core. Expand as if, like if you're, how do you say you're, like you have computers, you have compartments you can plug in, then you can expand. So we expand based on the growth. And see, it grows as the city grows. It grows as the culture grows, because you just think the pyramid is how big and how long, and
Yes.
I mean, it's not like they're putting anything new in the pyramid, but it's still around.
Right.
But the idea is that generations are going to come, and the information is going to continue to flow. You can imagine the archives in the Smithsonian, for example,
Right.
And that's national. But we're just talking about, not that we're just talking about. I just think it's culturally significant. To build something like this and to house the works of Los Angeles-based artists,
Yes.
From their inception, just like Inner City had an inception, so that they can be stored and they can be looked at over a lifetime. It's not to say that everybody's going to become somebody significant, but everybody's significant and has value in their own right. It always reminds me of this project I'm working on called Great American First. We're saying that every individual has value.
Okay.
And there's something in every individual that they can gift.
Right. Now I know you're a hard worker, and you got other people that are associated. Can you drop a few names of some of the people that work with us on this project?
Oh my goodness.
Sandy Sheffy, Dr. Sheffy.
Dr. Sheffy, aside from and the other people, there have been mainstays over the years like Glenn Turman, Art Evans, Ted Lange, for example, people that we can go to in a pinch, so to speak. On the board, James Bronson was one of the writers and won numerous awards at NSC. James Burks, who works with the Cultural Affairs Department. Carmen Haywood Stetson, whose husband Jeff is a writer on television. Carmen's prolific in her own right. There's bright, intelligent people. Big By, who else?
Tuesday Connor.
She's and her sister Lynn, yourself.
Yes.
Colette, Tomir Cruz, who it was interesting how we reunite when we started this kind of thing. Colette, who was in a production, part of the play development workshop that I was doing at Inner City, was in a production, and called me out of. I hadn't seen her in 30 years at least. But this is what happens. We have people across the nation. One interesting note, for example, and I have to give homage to this. Hugh Dane, who had a recurring role on The Office as a security guard, passed. And his wife found me and said, look, Hugh said that in lieu of flowers and all that kind of stuff, anybody who wanted to, donate to that should give the money to the Inner City Cultural Center. I thought that was fantastic because Hugh cut his teeth at Inner City.
Right.
And it was on The Office. And one of the actors, Rain, who was on, tweeted it out, and people responded and they sent donations.
Gotcha.
And in fact, Steve Carell attended that day. This is inner city, but he felt enough about this particular man who felt enough about inner city, and those people in The Office and whatnot did that, but that's the reach that inner city has. So yeah, I could probably, excuse me, Emily, Gloria Calloway, Bill.
Yeah. Oh God!
There you go, bro.
He's gonna get some chairs for us and some other stuff.
William Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody remembers going up to the Stormy Weather Cafe at Inner City Cultural Center, right outside, Bill could be, compared to Isaac on Love Boat.
Yes.
That's what, he's an icon.
Yes, he is.
Okay, so if you see Stormy Weather Cafe, you say, well, where's Bill?
Where's Bill?
Because
don't mess with Bill.
Yeah, don't mess with Bill. Yeah, right, don't. You better pay for that drink. What are you talking about? No, I mean, it's just so much. I mean, we could go on, and if we've forgotten somebody, forgive us, but there's so many people.
So many people.
Yeah.
We got just a few more minutes.
Sure.
Again, can you give us the date, place, and time for the event that's coming up?
Sunday, November the 4th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, 4716 West Washington Boulevard in Los Angeles, Mid-City. Bring your checkbook.
Yes, bring your checkbook.
No, we're not turning down anything, but just understand we want people to come and again, alumni, people who want to, who like the idea, who want to support us. I mean, if you're an architect, if you're a city planner, who understands what cultural history means, you understand, the value of art and culture to a community, to a city.
Yes.
To understand if Inner City was the first in doing what it did, this will be the first type of cultural center library in the nation, just as Inner City was the first multicultural, diverse, and inclusive organization in the city. We want to pay homage to that.
Right.
So 4 to 7 p.m., Sunday, November the 4th, at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. $10 advance, Inner City Cultural Center at gmail.com. Email first, because we're building that. We're going to get that launch out, and we'll have something on Eventbrite as well. I forget the number, 213-237-1717, I believe.
Okay, we'll be running PSAs between now and then.
Great.
Yes, definitely.
Appreciate it.
Keep that right in front of people's faces so they can see it.
Yeah.
Ernest, I wish you could stay a little bit longer, my friend. You have so much knowledge. I will give a plug here. A couple of years ago, we put an application in for a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
C. Bernard
Jackson. And he didn't get it yet.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll continue.
No, we have to work on that. I mean, he's important to the cultural history, entertainment history of Los Angeles. He needs a star, should have a star.
Indeed.
Yes.
I want to thank our sponsors, Harvey Brandman, Photography as an Art, Ron Irwin, 5150 The Book, Larry Buford, Book to the Future, Time Travel Message in a Capsule, State Farm Agent Carla Green, and of course our good friend. Thank you so much, Mr. Dillihay, for
Thank you,
stopping
Ron.
by.
Appreciate it.
Indeed, man. We'll have you in there because there's so much. I wish you'd write a book. There's so much knowledge that you have, my God. And I want to thank a lot of we're getting more and more people watching the show. We really appreciate that. So, hey, you want to throw some money this way? It'll go that way. Appreciate it very, very much. We'll see you next time.
We don't
God
turn
bless
anything
you.
down, right?
Nope, we don't turn nothing down.
Silver dollars, y'all. Thanks.
Hey.